one is Nigeria, this is Libya. So there's no work aside prostitution. I said, me, I want to come and do prostitution. Hey, this is not what we plan. He said, that is not the problem. The problem is that we are already in Libya now. And that is the only work for Nigerian girls. I have no option. My first time to sleep with a man, whereby you need to put foam. You will soak it with liquid Dettol. You will soak it and put it in your private part. You will not put it in your private parts and you close your leg. That's okay, I should put the foam inside. I press and I press and I press and I press. Whereby after the man slept with me, I started bleeding. So I now rush out and bring out the foam with a lot of blood inside of me. Which I cried and cried. There's nobody to tell me sorry. You wish you will never live that kind of life, but you have no option but to join. I went through hell. Hellfire is not that far. It's close beside us. I went through hell.
While human trafficking and sex slavery are exploding crimes around the world,
picked up from the streets and sold into a women trafficking
The city is fast becoming a hub for sex trafficking.
Snatched from the safety of our neighborhood and sold for sex.
1.2 million children are trafficked for sex each year. Well, this is a horrifying
You are looking at
statistic.
girls who were held as slaves in America.
Bound by ritual to pay back massive debts, they end up trapped in a nightmare world of prostitution.
Is it possible that because we're going for an
The issue of human trafficking is one that we cannot ignore. After hearing the stories and reading the statistics, I needed to investigate this issue for myself. So I applied for a Nigerian visa.
Hope it goes well.
Sounds simple, but in reality, refusing to pay a bribe or premium rate, as I was told, can result in endless delays. Eventually, my visa was issued.
The journey is about to begin. Excited or nervous? We'll see what happens. Anne will be meeting us when we get to the other side. So it's going to be an experience. Let's go. Hey, how's it going? Are you filming us? Yes. Why? Documentary.
As my plane left South African soil, I wondered what stories I would hear in Nigeria, Africa's most populated country. After a short layover in Lagos, I headed up north to the city of Jos, the capital of the Plateau State. The next 4 weeks would change my life.
Put us in a police vehicle and they drove us to the police station.
I discovered tonight that the old saying, it's easy to ask for forgiveness than permission, might not work so well here in Nigeria, because you might not have a chance to ask for forgiveness. Because tonight we're filming in the market, in the local terminal market. It was a big clashing point a few years ago for the Muslims and the Christians, and they had a big market building there, and that building was blown up, and so it's still very tense in that area. We were filming up on the bridge overlooking the market, getting some shots, and we pointed the camera towards the soldiers, and they hated this. They ran up with their guns, they made us get this camera, and they started shouting at us, and made us sit on the floor, asked us where we're from, what is a South African doing here. And then one guy was trying to scare us and lifting his gun to us, said sit down, so sat down again. And then they basically said, look, you guys are in a hostile area, we can kill you and no one will even know. What we're finding here is that this documentary seems to be going to be a lot harder to do in Nigeria than we thought so, as the military and the police aren't as friendly to media as other places. Once in Jos, I met up with Anna Bok, a Nigerian activist and filmmaker. She had recently completed a documentary on the human trafficking links between Nigeria and Europe.
Going to Frankfurt, we were able to talk to the federal German police, and statistics that they gave us shook me. They said, yes, Benin City, Nigeria, 80% of the African prostitutes we have in Europe come from there. What do we do about Benin City?
With a couple of movies under her belt, Anne took up the challenge to write and direct a Nollywood film about human trafficking called Europe in My Heart.
In the world, Nigerian film industry is the third largest. We influence the entire Africa. And I thought to be able to send a message quickly and effectively, put it in the film. Of course, they're all based on real life events that happen to different people. But what I did was I decided to put in the life of one person called Charity, who's the main character.
My name is Charity, but they call me Chito.
So let Charity carry the story, the untold stories of these girls.
Chito, why don't we make Papa and Mama happy today by going home together at early?
She dreamed of a better life.
I'm tired every time.
Along came the charmer.
They call me African Dollar.
Charity in the film is just an ordinary schoolgirl that wanted a better life. And then someone comes and tells her parent, her mother, that he has a better opportunity for her out there. So it's something that happens to people when you least expect. It's not bad to be ambitious, to want something better for yourself, but it's something that can happen, and it's happening around us, but a lot of us close our eyes or just play dumb when it comes to human trafficking.
Europe in My Heart was shot on location in Denmark and Benin City. This city is said to provide more sex slaves to Europe than any other city in Africa. The history of Benin is plagued with the curse of slavery. It was during the 16th and 17th century that Benin grew rich, trading with the Dutch and Portuguese in selling their people as slaves.
In 2006, a UNESCO policy paper that did research on human trafficking activities in Nigeria deducted that 80% of victims of trafficking in Europe came from Edo State.
Young boys and girls are easy targets for the empty promises of illicit pimps and human traders.
They were made promises back home, that once you get to Europe, your life is changed and transformed forever. You have plenty of money. And given the problems in Nigeria, such promises sell like hotcake.
They feel that when you have money, no matter how the money comes, that you have a voice in the family and in the society. Hardly will you find a family where you don't have one person that is trafficked or into prostitution.
There's no house in Benin. You can't get somebody that is being trafficked in Benin City. I don't think there's a house at all in Benin. Most of the houses, let me say, 80% of houses in Benin, they have been trafficked before, and still being trafficked till tomorrow.
Realizing that just about every family in Benin City is affected by human trafficking, we decided to travel to Benin and to conduct an awareness campaign using the movie Europe in My Heart. Benin Kingdom is one of the oldest known civilizations, and this ancient monarchy is well recognized around the world. It was the cradle of bronze casting in Africa, and signs of its glorious past are evident. We just got to Benin City after a short 45-minute flight, and now we're driving to the church where the first event's happening. We'll be training the volunteers. So yeah, we finally made it here, and hopefully today goes well.
Paying a visit to Benin City really showed us the reality, even more than I thought was happening. Literally, almost every person we met had an affair with human trafficking one way or the other. Knew a victim one way or the other, or was a victim already.
Human trafficking is well recognized by the communities and families of Benin City. But the Commissioner of Health had little knowledge about the situation of trafficking. in her state. How bad is the issue of human trafficking in Benin City?
Well, I don't really know how bad it is.
How bad?
Can I ask you this question? How do you assess how bad the trafficking issue is?
After this interview, the Commission acknowledged that she had no prior knowledge of the extent of human trafficking in Benin. Anne initiated an intensive awareness campaign, using the film Europe in My Heart as a teaching tool to highlight the dangers of this form of modern-day slavery.
So we've been in Benin City. We did a conference the first day we arrived on the 28th of November, had a conference, and then we had 2 days extra where we trained 150 volunteers. So we're going to go to the villages with them, and then together we will train the villages and spread an awareness against human trafficking. Today we're hitting the road. Next stop will be the first village.
No sooner had we arrived in the surrounding villages when we started hearing stories from ordinary people who'd been solicited and enticed to leave Nigeria with promises of the potential for great wealth. 1 or 2 of the villagers rejected us, saying that they did not want to stop human trafficking because this was the only source of income. And this made us realize how endemic the problem is in the surrounding villages.
I'm a married man with 6 children. And I have 4 boys, 2 girls. While my first girl is 18 years. Very fine, beautiful girl. And somebody have come to me to say, can you excuse me how to Europe?
Morocco, and what did she have to do in Morocco? Being here in Benin, we're starting to realize how big the issue of human trafficking really is. Even our taxi driver overheard our conversation and chipped in. He too had a story of human trafficking, and he was willing to share his story with us.
I'm going to call a friend of mine right now. She has been trafficked. She's in Libya with a madam. So I'm going to call her now. Please just listen to the conversation. See, what she's saying now is this. She wanted to go to Italy, but she's scared. When she got to the river, right, the Mediterranean Sea, she was scared of what she was saying, and because people are dying over there, she now decided to come back to Nigeria. So the madam now told her she can't just come back to Nigeria, let her work some money there and get some money and pay her, or they can send the money from Nigeria to come and settle her, that she's not going to take any nonsense, that the money must be paid. There is an agreement within her and the family.
Okay. So I say Bamako.
She asked me, am I going to travel? I said, travel to where? She said Europe. I said, name the kind of Europe. I want to know the kind of Europe, because as for me, I don't want to stay in anything that related with Africa. I don't want to stay. I want to stay far away from Africa. She said, I'm going to Italy. I said, okay. Is it by plane, by train, or by what kind of me? Because as for me, I don't have money. There's no support. There's nothing that will make me to have money to get a ticket for plane. So that is how she said I should not worry. She will pay for me as long as I'm willing to go. I said, okay, what is the kind of work? Actually, I don't really know that he's going out for prostitution. She said, what kind of work I want to do? I said, if it is house help, carrying a baby, doing cleaning, as long as at the end of the month I have my money, I will be okay. She said, okay, that is the kind of work she's about to take me to. I said, okay.
Favor's life is just one of the many destroyed by empty promises that entice the vulnerable to believe the lie that they have the opportunity of a better life outside Nigeria.
If his sibling was trafficked in the past and perhaps was very successful, started sending money, it predisposes the other siblings to think they can also go through that route. Of course, that's how the thing was I mean, people came and they saw it was sort of a lucrative thing, and everybody in the family wants to go. So that would predispose people to it.
Driving through the villages, we saw endless rows of incompleted houses, most of them being built with money sent from overseas. When the money dried up, the building stopped. These houses are the bait that encourage others to get involved.
This house is for my sister. She lives in Europe. I don't know the kind of job she's doing there that make her to get the kind of money to build this kind of house.
So what kind of work do you think is available for Nigerian girls over in Europe?
Maybe cleaner or selling something in the bar that is over outside Nigeria. But I don't really know because I have not been there. I don't really know if that is the kind of job they are doing there.
And if I offered you the opportunity to go to Europe with me today, would you go?
Hey, yes, sir.
And even if you knew, and if I told you that you had to work as a prostitute in Europe?
No, if you told me that is a prostitute, I would go with you.
It was obvious that this young girl was unwilling to be involved in prostitution. But it is estimated that 1 in 10 families have a member overseas, a large number trafficked into prostitution. But despite their working conditions, many of these girls do not want to return to Nigeria.
In Europe, most people have come to me trying to understand how life is for the girls back home here in Nigeria. They have no clue because all they see is the girls on the streets of Europe have been deported or repatriated and the girls don't want to come back home. And they go, but we want to help them come back home and they don't want to come back home.
Some of the girls I worked with, I told them, you know, if you go there, you don't have visa, you are not a citizen, the government cannot provide you cover with social amenities. In fact, if they catch you, you go to prison and you will suffer. Hell, they will say, sister, prison, I will eat food, is it not so? I said, hey, they will keep you alive now if you're in the prison. Sister, it's better for me there now. I will stay in their prison than stay in Nigeria here doing nothing, no food, nothing. Even when you explain what the options are to them, they tell you, no, it's better out there.
Poverty is the underlying cause of the problem in Edo State, for example, because certainly the levels that we have so far seen are immeasurable. For example, the schools need rehabilitation so as to accommodate more students and therefore deter them getting involved in the activities of human trafficking.
So many people have been victims of trafficking, of human trafficking as far as this region is concerned. So the trade, there's a linkage between those who have been victims and those who are now victims. Because those who were victims in the ab initio, they want to sustain the trade because they also want to recoup the investment that they have made in the illicit trade. Therefore, it's a long chain of events and activities. On the issue of poverty being attributed as a factor to the issue of trafficking, we completely disagree.
We've done surveys and there are also surveys done by other scholars. And people have identified poverty as a driving force for trafficking in human beings.
Poverty is everywhere. Even in the United States of America, there's poverty. In Europe, there's poverty. In Asia, there's poverty. So it is not only peculiar to Africa continent or to Nigeria per se, or to Edo State. It's everywhere. But the truth is, there are some persons who are not contented.
And we have strong respect for our parents. And for most of the girls, I would say that is a contributing factor into human trafficking. Because the pressure comes from them. You see, you've got maybe 7 other younger ones, and we've been able to put you through school, or we've spent this much for your education and all that, and now what do you give us back? And you look at your younger ones, and it puts immense pressure on you.
While the debate about the cause and effect and influence of poverty on human trafficking continues, I soon discovered that there was a more sinister force that binds the girls.
And whoever enemies the other will die.
A force that is not easily recognized by a Western mindset.
In our culture, animism is still part of the culture, and people believe in spirits and in demons and in devils and all that, and black power, African juju. So that's a form of trapping the girls. They take them there, they use their fear and they just bind them with an oath. They take parts of their body. Most of the cases we have seen is they have their body parts in the shrine of the juju priest.
They cut my fingernails, my legs and armpits. They took my blood.
Juju is a form of witchcraft that is practiced in West Africa, and it plays a critical role in the trafficking of young girls to Europe.
In our culture, our people have found themselves tied to some of these things to the point where they make oaths and commitments and covenants, sometimes with human blood, sometimes with animal blood. Sometimes two people will cut their body and use the blood of both persons, and they take it to a shrine, and there they make certain commitments. And if you break that commitment, and I've seen this happen, people die for breaking the commitment to that covenant, and people just die. You ask how? I don't know.
And if you ever try to break this covenant, you'll bleed forever and never have children.
Mysteriously, they die for breaking the agreements in that covenant. And so these things, when they begin to happen like that, brings fear. So our people have a lot of fear for demonic things. So anything demonic, anything fetish, anything that comes from a shrine and things like that, people are afraid of. Now, if you tie this with human trafficking, then you also begin to see another aspect of what we are looking at.
Juju practice is all part of the package to ensure that all of these transactions are carried out under strict secrecy code. And that's why it's difficult for some of these girls, even when you offer them help to come back home, it's difficult for them to take that help. Because if they've sworn to an oath and they believe strongly that if they go against it, that will be the end of their lives.
This belief binds girls to a verbal contract made in the presence of a juju priest. An ex-juju priest told us how the rituals are sometimes performed.
What they do is this: they bring a hot drink, okay? And they turn it on a cup, on a glass. And they kind of look for something like a needle to hit the hands, and they drop the blood, okay? And they mix some other concoction, okay, inside the glass of wine. He drinks. Sometimes the representative of the sponsor right there also drinks about it, and they tell them, if you try to betray us, every of their covenant ends with death. You will die.
They make you make promises that if you don't fulfill those promises, this would happen to you. Like you bleed, your family members would die or stuff like that. And for this particular girl, she said, yeah, they told her that she would bleed if she didn't pay, but she paid, but she still bled. That is a bit confusing to us listening, but we saw her, we chatted with her, we heard her telling us that was happening to her.
In Benin City, human trafficking is an open secret, but those involved are not willing to openly speak about it. So I approached a juju priest, asking for information about African traditional religions, and after initially denying any connection to human trafficking, he told us about the power of the oath over those who believe in it.
If you don't pay, then you are liable to face the consequences. What is the consequences? It is what you agree with your mouth. Because such oaths, they now put their hands in the juju. They will now say, if I don't pay, let him go mad. If I don't pay, may he not be able to be this or that in life. And so it becomes the aftermath of their word as they take the oath.
They tie my eye. I'm not saying what I'm going to swear. They just put a drink. They said I should put my hand. So I put my hand. When I finished, they said if I don't want to pay the money, thunder will strike me.
By virtue of that oath,
taken at the shrine, a girl will always feel indebted to pay whatever amount is mentioned to her, all because of what she has left at the shrine.
So the people know that they have taken an oath that they must pay, and so they must pay.
The voodoo priests are having a field day. These girls are brought to the voodoo priest or the juju priest to more like put some incantations on them and tell them, you take an oath. When you get there, you pay all that you owe, or you'll be required to pay.
If they were not in position to pay back, they won't take an oath. They already have the belief that they can pay back, even though they are going to spend 20,000 euro or 20,000 naira, and they take you eventually to Europe. If they take you there, according to your belief and your swear and your oath, you are bound to pay the money that you have agreed at the shrine. If you don't pay, you will have problem. You become insane. You'll be mad, or they will repatriate you. You meet with the police.
After listening to the warnings of the juju priest, I was reminded about the taxi driver and his friend, who is still trapped in Libya.
She took an oath, she took an oath with the mother. They took her to a shrine, cut some of her parts for sacrifice in form of promise to pay back the money. So it's like she's not coming except the money is being sent to her.
I wondered what the psychological effects were on the girls who took an oath in a juju shrine, and so we went to the psychiatric hospital.
Whether you like it or not, in most communities and in most cultures, the potency of blood covenant is recognized. So you find these are the things they engage the people in that makes them to actually have the firm belief that if they decide to renege on whatever contract they have with their couriers, otherwise called sponsors back here in Nigeria, such sponsors could harm them spiritually via the potency of the oath they took.
And we have a popular saying also here that says ignorance is no excuse to breaking the law. The fact that you are ignorant of the operations of the devil or occultic practices does not erase the fact that they do exist. So it would do the Westerners well to believe that these things do exist, and people are bound by the fear of the existence of these things in the cultures or societies where they are given prominence.
In a nation where around 50% of the population claim to be Christian, we wanted to know what role the church played in human trafficking.
We preach the message that people want to hear, not what God wants us to preach. You see, but I think that there are still churches that preach sound messages, but they are very few. Preach sound messages, so that has also helped in a long way, making people to be money crazy, looking for money at all costs. Because Pastor said, God will bless you by any means, so they were taken into so many vices.
Because of this craze for money too, most pastors, they pray for these girls. Some of them over there, they are pastors, anointing oil and sending to them, because of the proceeds they get from these people, the tithe and all.
The monies that these young ladies make are also donated into the church. And so it becomes, it's more like it seals the lips of these pastors.
One of the bishops told us that the pastors actually pray over the girls' underwear and saying that they would sleep with multitudes of men and never contract HIV or AIDS.
In our findings, we discovered that there are actually some pastors, so now I would call them fake pastors, that actually hide under the guise of being pastors because of the authority they've seen that pastors have over the lives of people, as in our Nigerian society. They have actually been the people and the sources of covering, fostering trafficking in girls. Imagine a pastor saying that you have a breakthrough because God has opened doors for you to go abroad without even investigating what the girl is going there to do.
Every one of them, Father, let them be financially lifted in the name of Jesus. Father, a new thing.
estimated 70 million members, the Nigerian church is powerful enough to stop human trafficking if it was a priority. But sadly, this is not the case, and Favor's story shows us the brutality of the West African trafficking routes.
They now lap us just like chicken and cross us to Zidane to Agadez. So our way to Agadez, they now has to dress us like the Muslim. They dress us with their jalabia, we call it jalabia in Libya. They will load us inside the tipper. We are more than 900 passengers in just one tipper. We are more than 900 passengers in just one tipper with your food and your water. So when you make noise, they will flog you as if you are a cow. A cow is better than you. Before going to Libya, they will use pickup, half pickup, there is no back. They will not load us line by line, and put a big bag on us. No, big bag. They will not use Capolin to cover us again. Why then be the patron who can speak the language Arabic very well? They will not sit on us, on the top, while we are there shouting, screaming. You cannot shout out, you cannot scream out. Or is that you are going to make money, you are going to Europe.
Conditions along the routes to Europe are harsh and unkind, with many victims living in inhumane conditions.
It's a bad experience anyway. A lot of people died on the road. There wasn't water, there wasn't good food. You just ate garbages, very, very dirty food, So we got to Maroc with a lot of passengers in a pickup. Pickup is filled with a lot of girls and boys, it's a bad experience. So there, the madam will start making connections to come and pick their passengers, especially the girls.
The ones that go through the route, it's only about 5, maximum 10% that make it into Europe. The other 90% are stranded in all of these various routes.
When you are moving from Nigeria to Italy or Spain, there are 2 different routes. Spain have its own route, while Italy have their own route, by road, through the desert. To start with, when you are moving to Italy, first of all, you move, especially from Benin here in Edo State, Nigeria, straight to Kano. From Kano, you move straight to Zindane, Agadez. Agadez, you now have to go to the Italy side, which is Duruku to Libya. When you get to Libya, you make your way through the sea to Italy. Then when you are going to Spain, it's another route. You have to, from Agadez, move to Algeria. Then from Algeria, you get to the last city of Algeria, which is called Magnaia, that have the same border with Morocco. Then from Morocco now, you now get your way down to the highest state, which is called Tanja. From there, you make your journey to Spain.
And people cross the Mediterranean in boats, in dilapidated boats, very often capsizing and resulting into the loss of lives, and they find themselves in Europe. So these routes in total constitute what we feel are the main trafficking routes, which are heavily sometimes protected by the perpetrators of the action, because through that, obviously, it's a gainful kind of employment for them.
Their strategy is whether they get to the final destination or not, they have one goal at heart. And whether the girls are in Europe or in any African country, their original purpose at heart is to get them into prostitution. So if you can get them into the prostitution to generate the same resources in Bamako, why waste your time taking them to Europe?
It is a shock for many of the girls to realize that Europe is not the final destination, and they are quickly set to work.
My first time to work, she said, you see this man, go with him. I said, to where? Go with him. I said you should go with him. I said, please, to where am I going to this man? I don't know the man. Even you that I'm staying with, I don't even know you. So where am I going to the man? I said, to go to the left room and sleep with the man. To do what? This is not the work. He said, that one is Nigeria. This is Libya. So there's no work aside prostitution. I said, me? I want to come and do prostitution? Hey, this is not what we plan. He said, that is not the problem. The problem is that we are already in Libya now, and that is the only work for Nigerian girls. Whether you are bleeding or not, you will see sex. You will be sexy. You will be sexy and sexy and sexy until you get used to it. So whereby I'm sexy, I'm crying. Sexy, I'm crying. How much is the money? Is 10 dinar. With 10 dinar, you translate it here, it's 1,000 naira. So as I get used to it with time, you're getting used to it with the pain, they will be buying you drugs, and that money that you are working is not for you. It's not even you that is working the money. It's for the person you are staying with and the madam that brought you to that country. As for you, I just empty-handed. Then it comes to Salah. Muslims celebrate there. I slept with 150 men. Just like they will teach you. Sex is a school. Whereby they will teach you how to handle men. You can just handle a man without the man knowing, just for 2 seconds, 3 seconds is out. They will just sleep with you. You will just tie your towel. You tie your towel. Your body, you will not put on shirt. You only tie your towel to prevent your breast. This is the place they are paying for your private parts. That is the place you will leave for them open. But if they insist they want to touch your breast, they need to pay for extra money. And that extra money for breast is for your own. You will not tell the woman that you are staying in her house. That one you will save it. Maybe you want to buy soap or shampoo, those kind of things. You will use that money. That is the only place you get your own money to maintain yourself and buy clothes. You meet people that will smoke, they will inject themselves before sexing you. They will sex you that you will almost give up your breath. They will just sex you. They say when you want to talk, they say this is your money. So that this is what they pay for. They will sex you the way they want. So most of them, they will just hang your 2 legs. You have no say. You cannot even shout. Because when you shout, either they hang you or they stab you to death. So anything possible to just be praying that the day should just break. I'm tired of sex. You'll be sexing, inside of you is dead, your womb. You'll be feeling somehow inside your womb. No, if not for God. You'll be feeling anyhow inside. With including the smoking, the drinking, the alcoholism, the kind of life you don't want to live. You'll be living it because of that 10 dinar, 1,000 naira. I said, okay, there's no option, but I have to live this life and do my own and live my own. Because when I go back to Nigeria, there's nobody that will help me. Nobody.
It was the passionate cry for help from women like Favor that kept motivating Anne to use her movie, Europe in My Heart, to raise awareness and to warn the vulnerable about the dangers of the silver-coated promises of a better future in Europe. Europe in My Heart has already been an effective tool for advocacy in the underprivileged areas around Benin City. For the vulnerable, information is power in the fight against human trafficking.
About 85% of individuals were ready to go anywhere as long as it just sounded good. It was going to be better than the immediate community. But right after we used our advocacy tool, which is the movie, a true life story, to reach out to them and then also train them on the dangers and the new faces of human trafficking and the realities, there was a huge drop from about 85% to about 44%.
1, 2, 3, cheers! After spending a month in Nigeria, I reached my goal of hearing true life stories, experiencing the issue firsthand, and playing my part in the awareness campaign. The situation in Nigeria is undoubtedly at crisis point, but I left feeling that with people like Anne and her team, there is hope for the victims who have been forgotten by so many.
If human trafficking is the 3rd largest crime in the world, then I think that every reasoning human being should be proactive in dealing with it, because it's a big problem. It affects us all. And because it's that close to you, I want to invite everyone to pick up the mantle and to say, I want to stand against injustice in our time. I want to fight human trafficking. I want to contribute. And your contribution could be even in trying to create awareness, trying to prevent human trafficking from taking place in your family, in your neighborhood, in your school, in your nation. We have what it takes to be able to abolish it, because it's another form of slavery. And if we hated the form of slavery, we should have the same energy to hate human trafficking in our day.
God's grace is upon me because He forgive me. He gave me a husband and a child. So I forgive everybody that's wronged me. I forgive, if I should use that word, forgiveness, because forgiveness is only key that will make you to live. If you cannot forgive, God will never forgive you. If God can forgive you, why you cannot forgive? I cannot remember all, but I'm only trying to remember because I choose to forget it. I call it another side of life.